Fox Kansas News at 9.
Now at 9, we look at why state lawmakers are back at square one in limiting how much of your driving record counts towards a suspended license. Plus, another football flip for a Derby standout as he takes his college career from one state university to another. And Wichita police are asking for your help in looking for 3 missing teenagers. Fox Kansas News at 9 starts right now. Hello and thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Abby Wray. One man is dead, another injured following a crash near Plainsville in Rooks County yesterday afternoon. Kansas Highway Patrol saying neither was wearing a seatbelt at the time of that crash. KHP says it happened just after 1:30 yesterday afternoon on Z Road, about 6 miles southeast of Plainville. State troopers say a westbound 2003 Chevrolet Silverado collided with an eastbound 1999 Ford F-250 in the middle of the road. Investigators say the driver of the Silverado, a 46-year-old Joseph Plate of Natoma, died from his injuries. They add the 25-year-old driver from the other vehicle is from Iowa, and he went to the hospital in serious condition. And a house fire in Riverside left multiple dogs dead. Now, fire crews say that they first got called to a house fire in Riverside yesterday afternoon in the 1100 block of North Pierce. When firefighters got there, they say they found a fire in the front of the home, and after putting it out, searches led them to 3 deceased dogs. Animal Control is now helping with the investigation into what caused that fire and how the dogs died. And within the last 2 hours, Wichita Police has put out a request to the public to help look for several missing or runaway teenagers. Police say 13-year-old Theseus Day was last seen in the 1000 block of South Seneca Street. He's described as wearing a black hoodie with green graphics. Police say he's 4'10", about 92 pounds. Police also say 15-year-old Ernest Day was last seen in the same location of South Seneca wearing a tan hooded sweater and black sweatpants. Police say Ernest is 5'7", about 118 pounds. If you see these teens, police ask you to call 911 so they can do a welfare check. Police are also looking for 16-year-old Nicholas Gatto, who was reported as a runaway and is believed to be on a bicycle. Gatto was last seen leaving the 9000 block of West Greenpoint wearing a gray Maze South hoodie and gray sweatpants, black shoes, riding a specialized brand bike with yellow lettering. Police say if you see Gatto, you're asked to call 911.
Okay, another breezy day out there today. In comparison to where we have been, thankfully, not as breezy as days like yesterday were, but still nonetheless, we had gusts upwards of 35 to around 40 miles per hour at times, especially out across western Kansas. So yes, a breezy day, but from where we've been, it was a little bit of reprieve, and the good news is these are continuing to come down. Okay, live look right now from the Commerce Bank building over at Webb and 13th. Yeah, 40 degrees, so really not half bad, but like I told you last night, this evening wind certainly has a little bit of a bite to it, and well, that's generally because we've had that cold front roll through. So northerly winds across the metro still gusting up to close to 30 at times, upper 30s and lower 40s. Right now, talking about low to mid 30s for many of us across the state, and we'll bottom out around the teens to lower 20s overnight tonight. So another really cold start for Monday. And yes, we're going to start to track the potential for a few flurries to develop across southwestern Kansas overnight and into Monday morning. We'll go through that coming up, as well as looking ahead to our kind of longer term forecast, maybe a little more impactful weather on the horizon. We'll go through those details coming up.
Thanks, Colton. Well, a traffic reminder for Andover residents. Tomorrow, the city will conduct maintenance to rewire the traffic lights at Central and Andover Road. Officials say there will be temporary shutdowns of traffic lights throughout the day. The work is scheduled to be completed by the end of tomorrow. And some new information tonight in the world of college sports. Breaking news for the state of Kansas as Derby native and former K-State running back Dylan Edwards has committed to KU out of the transfer portal. Noah Sacco joins us live in studio with more on this Sunflower switch. Noah?
Well, Abby, another level of intrigue has just been added to the Sunflower Showdown for next fall. After 2 seasons with K-State football, Derby alum and transfer running back Dylan Edwards is now headed to in-state rival Kansas, becoming the first player in the portal era to transfer from the Cats to the Hawks. Announcing the commitment on his Instagram account this morning, Edwards said, quote, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Entering the transfer portal earlier this month, Edwards was seen in the stands at Allen Fieldhouse during the KU Baylor game on Friday. That was part of his official visit with the Hawks. Now, Edwards began his collegiate career at Colorado in 2023 before transferring to K-State for the 2024 and 25 seasons. The junior only has played 4 games this past fall as he dealt with injury, eventually deciding to redshirt and leave the team. Edwards has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. Now, according to 24/7 Sports, the 2021 Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year was a composite 4-star recruit and a top 10 running back out of Derby High School. Currently, Edwards is the highest-rated Kansas prospect to sign with the Hawks in program history. We'll have more on the move coming up in sports. Abby?
Thanks, Noah. Well, this weekend, the Kansas State Fire Marshal's Office, alongside other partners, hosted Fire Chiefs 101 leadership training in Salina. 35 local fire chiefs, or soon-to-be fire chiefs, had the chance to take part in multiple days of training. They were provided resources and support, as well as information on legal considerations and reporting requirements affecting Kansas fire chiefs. The event's purpose was to make fire departments across the state more prepared so Kansans can be better protected. And Kansas lawmakers are once again considering a bill that would ban the use of cell phones in school zones and construction zones. Our Sydney Ferguson has more on the statistics driving the effort and how some Kansans feel about it.
The Kansas legislature is back in session, and with it, a renewed effort to introduce bills designed to protect Kansas families. Bills like SB 324, which would ban the use of cell phones in construction zones and school zones.
I agree with it because there's too many kids getting hit and too many wrecks and too many people getting hurt on construction sites.
Melinda Moomey says it should be common sense. Leave your phone alone while you drive. But statistics show distracted driving is something Kansans are struggling with. According to international driver's education company Zootobi, Kansas was the state with the 3rd highest amount of distracted drivers in 2025.
A lot of people texting and driving, not really paying attention. Can cause a wreck, even someone dying.
The same company reports in 2024, distracted driving accounted for 110 deaths in Kansas, a year where Kansas was the 2nd highest distracted driving state. While drivers aren't always distracted by their phones, cellular devices do play a part.
Because I even see cops texting and stuff. And I mean, that's supposed to be a law, no texting, but here you see law enforcement's texting, and that's not right.
Lawmakers have considered similar bills in previous years that didn't make it all the way through the system. Supporters hope they'll get enough votes this year to change that. Stephen Moomey says he would support it mainly for the regulation in school zones.
I think they should pass it because how many people have been flying through school zones and all those kids, and you don't want any more kids to get hurt, even killed.
Because I got grandkids that go to school, and I don't want them hurt or anybody hurting them.
In Wichita, Sydney Ferguson, Fox Kansas News at 9.
Well, Kansas lawmakers are once again considering a plan to limit how long a moving violation stays on your record after the Department of Revenue says their last effort was misworded, invalidating the entire effort. You may remember Senate Bill 500 was the second change to state law to come after our investigation into the number of suspended driver's licenses in the state. Kansas has ranked as high as 5th in the nation for the number of suspended licenses per capita in various studies. Last year, among other things, lawmakers tried to limit how far back into your driving record agencies can look to determine repeat offenders to 5 years. Historically, the look-back period has been unlimited, meaning an offense 20 years ago would still count against you, as Bobby Lytle found out the hard way.
I paid those prices, and I've done more than that. I've stepped above and beyond to meet our community standards about what's required to get that driver's license back. The city says that it doesn't matter.
We spoke with the bill's sponsor this afternoon, and he told us that they've learned the wording of last year's bill doesn't work, so now they're trying to get that wording fixed so Kansans like Lytle can benefit from it. And a study by the Center for Healthcare Quality Payment Reform revealed that 68 rural hospitals in the state are at risk of shutting down, while another 30 are in immediate risk. Nationwide analysis found that 1/3 of all rural hospitals may be in jeopardy. The center says that this is a problem of simple economics. Facilities are spending more than they're bringing in because of their customer base and operating costs. Necessary costs like staff and repairs are also adding to the issue. Kansas still has 100 rural hospitals, which is second only to Texas. Well, an update to tariffs and the Great Greenland Controversy. What President Trump is saying today coming up. And a beautiful evening in downtown Wichita. Meteorologist Colton Williams has a look at the forecast when we return.
First Alert weather forecast.
Okay, cool front has moved through at this point. Look at the colder air off to our north. Look across the high plains. We're talking about temperatures below zero. We're not going to get that cold here, thankfully. We are going to get cold again, though, compared to where we were today, okay? Low to mid 30s. We're still hanging on to a few low 40s out there now. Those will be gone here before we know it. Northerly winds have taken over. There's a little bit of moisture that we might be able to tap into out west coming up tonight that could lead to some snow chances tonight and into tomorrow, okay? So overnight tonight, low to mid teens to low 20s for overnight lows. So I know tomorrow's a holiday for many and don't have to get out in the morning. If you do, you're going to want to bundle up, okay? We're talking again about single-digit wind chills. At the warmest, we're talking about teens. So a cold start for your Monday. And then, like I said, we're still watching the possibility for some flurries to develop overnight tonight, out west primarily, and across southwestern Kansas through the morning hours tomorrow morning. These should clear out around mid-morning or about lunchtime tomorrow and not leave much behind, okay? So overnight tonight, there's your, in that light green, or that light blue, excuse me, that's where I think we could see a few flurries. And then, of course, in the scattered zone, maybe that's where we have a little bit better chance to see a snow band or two set up. And then throughout the morning hours tomorrow, there's your better zones. Include Garden and Dodge. Okay, I would not be surprised to see some flakes flying tomorrow in places like Garden and Dodge, maybe even as far east as areas like Pratt, honestly, maybe even over to areas like Kingman to see some flurries. Don't count on it, though, okay? Tomorrow is going to be primarily a dusting for southwest Kansas. If you get really lucky or unlucky, however you look at it, you could get underneath one of these little heavier bands and maybe pick up to an inch, but that's going to be kind of at a premium, okay? Into tomorrow afternoon, low to mid 30s for most of us. In fact, here in south central Kansas and much of north central Kansas, we may not even climb above freezing tomorrow. If you go out west, you will end up making it to the upper 30s to lower 40s tomorrow, even despite the snowfall. All right, so after that, the pattern gets quiet for a couple days, and then we're starting to look towards later in the week and into next weekend. Cold front's going to roll through sometime in the Wednesday, Thursday time frame. That'll end up setting the stage for our next piece of energy here. Look what the models are beginning to show. A stalled out cold front, which usually this time of year, if you have energy involved, that means an ice storm for somebody. Now, thankfully, look what the Euro's saying. Could have a major ice storm playing out across parts of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. We're on the cold side of this, which would more than likely mean some decent snowfall, thankfully, as opposed to ice. We can handle snow as opposed to that ice. This would more than likely be a Friday, Saturday ordeal. I mean, I just showed you the Euro, the GFS, not bad agreement, right? I mean, we're talking snow, the ice. It keeps all the nasty stuff way to our south, so that's good news. This is still 5-6 days away, so there's a long time for things to change. We still have to kind of fine-tune that forecast. So stick with us here and on KAKE. We'll continue to track that as we head closer to the weekend, okay? Right now it's only Sunday. Okay, overnight tonight, talking about teens to low 20s. There's your flurry chances out west, and then tomorrow, talking about low to mid 30s. I mean, if we climb above freezing here in Wichita, it's not going to be by much. Snow chances should end out west by noon tomorrow, okay? And then into Tuesday, upper 40s, so we're not half bad. Tuesday into Wednesday, there's those opportunities beginning to poke back into the forecast. Like I said, you're going to have to stay tuned with us because there's a lot changing there, and it'll change as we head into tomorrow as well. All right, north central Kansas, Tuesday's not bad, back into the 50s, closer by Wednesday, and then there comes that opportunity maybe for some winter weather into Friday into Saturday. Those chances are low for now. If the signals still look as good tomorrow, those will probably come up. All right, southwest Kansas, tomorrow's obviously the morning snow chance, and then by Tuesday, you're in the low 50s, a couple nice days before the next opportunity maybe arrives Friday into Saturday. And of course, the same for northwest Kansas. Tomorrow, anything that falls tomorrow will be done by the morning, generally. Really will be wrapped up by overnight tonight into Tuesday. We're talking a nice warm up into the mid 50s. Looking towards next weekend, a lot of data is coming in. If you scroll your Facebook feed, you're probably going to see a lot of scary stuff about winter weather. And I'll tell you, I mean, I think somebody will get an impactful ice storm. For us, if things were to play out right now the way they look, we would see a decent snowfall. And like I said, we can handle that. So
absolutely,
keep the ice to ourselves.
No kidding. And we'll keep a close eye on that. Thanks, Colton. Well, after a lopsided loss to Florida Atlantic, Wichita State men's basketball had the chance to bounce back in overtime. See if the Shocks pulled off a thriller at South Florida coming up in sports. Union held an emergency meeting in Brussels Sunday after U.S. President Trump announced new tariffs on 8 European countries that oppose the U.S. taking over Greenland. The EU is one of the U.S.'s largest trade partners. Implementing tariffs could mean higher prices on multiple goods. Tensions between the U.S. and European nations are rising after President Trump announced a 10% tariff on 8 countries that oppose the U.S. taking over Greenland. Those tariffs will start February 1st, rise to 25% on June 1st, until an agreement for the takeover is reached, according to Trump. Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark, which is a member of NATO. Any American military move on Greenland could trigger Article 5 of the NATO treaty, which says an armed attack on one NATO territory is an attack on all. An added 10% tariff on European imports could drive up prices for many products like pharmaceuticals, car and auto parts, wine, and food, and those costs would likely be paid by U.S. consumers. Well, coming up next, news K-State and KU football fans have been waiting for. As of now, former Cats running back Dylan Edwards transfers to the Hawks. Noah Sacco has all the details coming up next in sports.
Kansas Sports.
Well, it's a sunflower switch that is shaking up the Sunflower State. Entering the transfer portal earlier this month, former K-State running back Dylan Edwards announced he's transferring to KU, a decision that comes 2 days after the Derby alum took his official visit with the Hawks. Posting to his Instagram account earlier this morning, Edwards said, quote, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Back on Friday, Edwards was seen in the stands at Allen Fieldhouse for that KU Baylor game as part of that official visit with the Hawks, one of multiple schools that reportedly showed interest. A former 4-star recruit and 2021 Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year, Edwards spent the past 2 seasons with K-State. He played only 4 games in 2025 due to injury, totaling 34 carries for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns before deciding to redshirt and leave the team. The junior has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. It marks the newest wrinkle to the Edwards transfer saga, committing to K-State out of high school in June of 2022. He then decommitted and committed to Notre Dame 2 months later, before decommitting and committing to Colorado in December of that same year. Spending the 2023 season with the Buffs, Edwards then committed again to K-State in 2024. Now he's headed to the other side of the Sunflower Showdown rivalry. He's the highest-ranked Kansas prospect to commit to the Hawks in program history. And in one fell swoop, the Hawks add their newest signal caller out of the portal as former Rice quarterback Chase Jenkins has committed to KU. The dual-threat Texas native started every game for Rice during the 2025 season, throwing for 1,025 yards with 9 touchdowns, while adding 531 yards on the ground. A former 3-star prospect, KU now has 4 scholarship quarterbacks on roster for 2026. Well, coming off their worst loss of the season, Wichita State men's basketball needs another bounce back as the Shocks visit South Florida to wrap up their 2-game trip in the Sunshine State. Shocks' 15-point lead trimmed to 1 into the break. Down by 12 in the second half. A Drake Kendall triple that cuts the deficit back to 9. Later, it's a ball movement clinic. Emmanuel Okorafor with the slam. Shocks are within 3. Then it's Kenyon Giles heating up. Held to a season-low 2 points last time out. He cans the tray from the wing. We've got a 1-point game. Next possession, it's Mike Gray Jr. with the go-ahead bucket. From down 13, Shocks are in front by 1, part of a 10-4 run to force overtime. In OT, Shocks stand strong. Kendall step back triple. He has 8. Shocks are up by 2. And it's Giles saving the best for last. 25 seconds left, stolen away. There's your go-ahead score. Game high 22 points for KG. Once ahead by 15, then trailing by 13, Wichita State rallies back in overtime. 86-85. They're back to 500 in American play. Shocks set to host East Carolina on Wednesday. That's Check It Sports. Abby.
Thanks, Noah. Well, coming up, meteorologist Colton Williams will have a final look at the forecast when we return. He hosted its first Furry Film Friday of the year earlier this weekend. Parents dropped off their 1st to 5th graders to watch a movie and eat pizza alongside furry friends. This month, the movie was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but February 13th, the movie night will be showing Zootopia 2. Looks like a hoot.
Kind of appropriate. Animal-themed movies, I guess that's the thing, right?
Probably.
I've never seen Zootopia 2, but let me tell you guys, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, you gotta check it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
A true critic. Okay. All right, tomorrow we'll talk about snow flurries overnight tonight. Southwest Kansas. None here for South Central. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are good days, close to normal. Guys, maybe winter weather coming next weekend.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for watching. That's all for Fox Kansas News at 9. Be sure to join us over on KAKE at 10.